keep you coming back for more. Well, those heart attack burgers, they keep you coming back for more. For baby, that's the taste that's worth dying for.
Obesity is the biggest threat to the health, welfare, and future of this country.
I've always been overweight.
I've got diabetes.
Sleep apnea, heart disease.
Everything's hurting now.
Obesity costs this country about $150 billion a year, or almost 10% of the national medical budget. Approximately 1 in 3 adults and 1 in 6 children are obese. Obesity is epidemic in the United States and a major cause of death attributable to heart disease, cancer, and diabetes. At its simplest, obesity results from people consuming more calories than their bodies burn.
Societal, economic, cultural conditions have all contributed to the rise in obesity.
One contributing factor is the fact that the way we eat has changed over the last 50 years. Americans are eating more processed foods and eating out a lot more frequently. The foods that are offered in restaurants, snack shops, and in vending machines are higher in sugar, calories, and fat than what we typically prepare in our own homes.
You know, it's not about never having the stuff you want, right? I would love it if I could live healthy on pie and French fries. I'd do it, I'd eat it. But the fact of the matter is that you can't.
Waistlines in America are growing. An alarming new study showing half of all Americans could be obese in less than 20 years.
Sugary drinks and wider waistlines go hand in hand.
Right now, 1 in 3 American adults is obese, about 34%.
We're predicting that to go up to about 42% by 2030. And in fact, we're predicting a doubling of severe obesity, about 100 pounds overweight, from 5% to around 11%.
And experts say it'll take large-scale changes in the way Americans live, work, and play to make a real dent in those startling numbers.
The cost of healthy foods oftentimes becomes a barrier. The access and affordability of foods is a huge issue.
If you've been to McDonald's recently, you may have noticed that one of their premium salads is much more expensive than a Big Mac. One reason is a 70-year-old system of farm subsidies. It gives most government aid to farmers who raise feed for livestock like corn, wheat, and soy. That makes the meat, cheese, and hamburger bun less expensive than the tomatoes and cucumbers in that salad. The farmers who grow those healthier options get little or no federal aid.
Now, Scott, you think that obesity, or fighting obesity, ought to be a top national priority?
Should be one of them, certainly.
And why is that?
Well, obesity is the major epidemic of the 21st century so far.
Obesity has been linked to type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, and depression. Is obesity an epidemic, or are the diseases that are the result of obesity the epidemic?
Both. Certainly, obesity causes a number of chronic diseases that ultimately can cause premature death, disability, and so forth. But obesity itself, I believe, is a disease and should be classified as such.
The costs of annual medical care for an obese person is 42% higher than for someone who is not obese, driving up the cost of health insurance.
New research shows that obesity costs the United States $147 billion a year, or $1,400 a year more for an obese person than for someone of normal weight.
The only way to show real savings in health expenditures in the future is through efforts to reduce the prevalence of obesity and related health conditions.
Now, when you look at the whole population, okay, you have about a third of the population that is clinically obese, you have another third of the population that is overweight, and then you have another third of the population that is either normal weight or underweight.
If you go with the flow in America, you will end up overweight or obese. This is not a result of a change in our genes. What has changed is our environment.
CDC works 24/7 to save lives and protect people. This month's Vital Signs has good news. It looks as if childhood obesity rates have begun to decrease in many states among our nation's low-income preschoolers.
There is no single or simple solution to the obesity epidemic.
There is no simple solution to the obesity epidemic. People need to make better choices.
This week, the Senate debates renewing the subsidies for another 5 years at a cost of $288 billion. But there's a fresh alternative on the table, a bipartisan bill that would help balance the subsidies and maybe help balance our diets.
Your insurance news. It's called the Healthy, Hunger-Free Kids Act of 2010. And President Barack Obama has just signed it into law. According to an LA Times webpage article, the child nutrition measure is designed to provide better and healthier school meals to more students in the U.S. Also, for the first time, it sets nutritional standards for all school food. That includes food served to students in the cafeteria for breakfast and lunch, and food sold in vending machines as well. The main goal of all this, to fight obesity among children, which is a very serious and growing problem in the U.S., and get kids on the right track when it comes to eating.